Welcome back to my channel. For those of you that are new around here, hi, my name is Karen Randazzo and I've been a chemistry teacher for 13 years. Right now I teach in a public school. I teach both college prep and honors this year, although I have taught AP as well. It's been a really great, rewarding experience to be a teacher, and really the purpose of this channel is to just share ideas and inspiration. And even though you may not be teaching chemistry, I think you will be able to find some new and interesting ideas for your classroom. So welcome, I'm really glad you found me. So the purpose of this video anyway is, and this is definitely something for everybody, we've all, I think, had students that have approached us focusing merely on the numerical grade at the end of the marking period, or the final grade that ends up on the transcript. And when we think about the things that we want our students to learn, I don't really feel like it's necessarily content based. And I think I've talked about this before. When we think about the things that we want our students to know and understand how to do, like, for example, have really great communication skills, interpersonal skills, time management skills, we want our students to be able to be independent learners, independent thinkers, right? These are all things that we want our students to learn. And when we merely focus on that marking period grade or the numerical score that they've earned at the end of the marking period, we kind of lose sight of that, because that marking period grade really should only resemble their content knowledge. And so what I've tried to do over the last few years is, instead of focusing on grades, I've been now focusing more on the learning process. And this isn't something that is necessarily new or different, but there are some things that I think I do that I could offer some advice for those teachers out there that are maybe struggling with students that are so focused on the grade. You can help them see the importance in the learning process. So tip number one is really demonstrating the importance of formative assessments for your students. I talked a lot about my formative assessments in my gradebook, in my What's in My Gradebook video, and I can link that for you down below so that if you wanted to watch it. But formative assessments are really essential because it allows your students to reflect on their understanding of the content before they take the summative assessment. So not only does it allow your students to kind of avoid messing up on the summative assessment, but it allows your students to say, you know what, I don't have it yet, so I still need to put a little bit more work in, or hey, I'm good with it and I don't really need to do anything else. It really allows your students to reflect on their own understanding, and it encourages them to realize the power of reflection. The second thing that I do to try and encourage my students to focus on the learning process as opposed to the numerical grade is I conference with my students. So whenever we have some sort of major assignment or a major assessment, like a test, for example, I'll grade the assessment, and then what I'll do is I'll pull the students over a few at a time and allow them to look at their tests in detail. I'll go over anything that they have questions about. I'll even ask them, like, is there anything I can help you with? Do you have any questions? And I'll have mini conferences with them to assist them in kind of understanding the concepts that they messed up on. This one takes a little bit more time, but highlighting the wrong answers also helps. So on formative, sometimes what I'll do is I'll just highlight an answer, and I won't necessarily put what's wrong. That encourages the student to kind of figure it out, ask questions, and say, like, oh, what did I do wrong here, and encourage that reflection piece. One of the things that I think teachers often make the mistake with is rushing right into content as soon as you start the school year. And like, you have to be your own teacher. Like, I understand that, but that just wasn't me. I always took the time to really get to know my students. So really, I wouldn't start content until probably about the 4th or 5th day of school. The beginning of the year activities are very essential for the student's success, at least in my class. And while I may not start content right away, I do find that I make up for the time because my classroom runs so much more smoothly. But as far as how this relates to your students actually focusing on the learning process, well, during this time, the students are getting to know each other, they're getting to know themselves as learners, and they're also getting to know me and my expectations. And so the beginning of the year activities incorporate a lot of reflection and a lot of, like, how can I help you and how can I encourage you to do your best in chemistry? This one is really small, but I find that it's very effective. One of the things that my students enjoy whenever they come to my classroom is looking at my daily drill or my daily agenda. They absolutely love seeing all the things that I post and everything that we're doing in the class. I also put my Bitmoji on there, so they usually laugh because I have my Bitmoji doing something funny every day. And more often than not, I'll have a quote. And so the quote will usually encourage them in some way to recognize how important reflection is. It encourages them to keep going, resilience, persistence. And that quote really allows the students to say, you know, I'm not going to be perfect all the time. And this is a process. And I can't expect to get everything 100%. And I am going to be uncomfortable at times, but I'm going to get it eventually. More recently, I gave my students a Google form that asked them to reflect on our marking period together. The Google form asked them specifically more about their most recent unit menu experience, because I just want to make sure that it was a better experience the second time around. But the last half of it was asking about their experience in chemistry so far, and basically what were some things that they really enjoyed in chemistry, what were some things that they didn't enjoy, and then there was one question that asked them, how does your score in chemistry relate to your understanding of chemistry? And so they had to reflect on the strategies and skills that they're using in order to reach their goals of being successful in the class. And then I think finally, if our goal is to help our students reflect on the learning process, and I kind of alluded to this before, having our students recognize that we are not perfect, and meaning we, both the teacher and the student, are not perfect human beings. We all make mistakes. Admitting our mistakes is essential. Even as a teacher, admitting that you misspoke or admitting that there was something wrong on the answer key, those are really, really good things for your kids to see, because they know that you're an adult and they know that you own your own mistakes. And so they can kind of take that from you and say, you know, I made a mistake, but that's okay, because I'm going to figure it out and I'm going to get it. And I think out of all the tips that I gave you, really being able to say, you know, I don't get it right now, but I'm going to eventually, is really important to this whole learning process, and really important to your classroom environment, your classroom culture, so that your students feel comfortable knowing that while they may feel uncomfortable now, it won't always be that way. So I hope this video helped you and gave you some insight and ideas of things that I use in my classroom to encourage my students to not focus so much on the grade, the numerical grade, but instead focus on the learning process. If you do anything in your classes that help you to focus more on the learning process, I'd love to know what it is. Please feel free to leave a comment below, and I hope you have an amazing weekend.